The council chamber stretched far across the crystal floor. Hundreds of alien species sat in their seats talking and arguing as they always did. The room buzzed with voices from creatures of all shapes and sizes. Ambassador Krell stood at the center podium. His golden scales gleamed under the bright lights. He was proud, confident, ready to announce his discovery. Behind him, a hologram showed a star system with several planets orbiting a yellow sun. Council members. Krell's voice boomed through the hall. My people have found something incredible. A rich world full of resources. No one owns it. We ask permission to claim it for the Zephrani Empire. The hologram zoomed closer to show the third planet. Blue oceans covered most of it. Green land masses sat between the waters. White clouds drifted across the surface. Numbers scrolled beside the image showing valuable metals, perfect air, and good gravity. An old being suddenly glowed red. Counselor Vexthor looked like floating crystals, ancient and wise. His species had lived for thousands of years. Very few things surprised them anymore. Show the location, Vexthor said. His voice sounded like grinding rocks. Krell smiled. He thought the old counselor just wanted to check the claim. He sent the coordinates to every screen in the room. Vexthor's crystals started shaking hard. Other old species jumped from their seats. A delegate whose people had traveled space for 8,000 years backed away from her screen like it had burned her. You fool, Vexthor whispered, but everyone heard him. You found Earth. Krell's smile disappeared. Earth, yes, that name is in old files. The previous owners left long ago. The planet is empty now. They did not leave, Vexthor said slowly. They withdrew. That is different, a younger council member laughed. His blue skin wrinkled as he smiled. Counselor Vexthor, those are just old stories. The humans were weak. They ran away and hid like children. Vexthor turned his massive body toward the young alien. I was there, young one. I saw them leave. I heard why they left. Whispers filled the chamber. Krell felt his confidence return. Surely the mighty Zephrani Empire should not fear old tales. Our scans show no defenses, no weapons, nothing but some old satellites with a silly warning. What warning? Vexthor asked, though he seemed to already know. Krell waved his hand like it meant nothing. Something childish. Humanity's final warning. No one lives through what follows. Obviously just words to scare away thieves. It has not worked for 500 years. Several old species started leaving the room. They said nothing. They just picked up their things and walked out. The younger species watched, confused. Vexthor stayed. Ambassador Krell, I will tell you what I saw 500 years ago. Maybe it will change your mind. Krell sat back amused. Please, counselor. Tell us your story. Humans were traders at first. Peaceful, curious, wanting to learn. They had just discovered how to travel faster than light. We welcomed them like we welcome all new species. For 50 years they were good members of our galactic community. Vexthor's crystals became dim, like he remembered something painful. Then something happened. A small diplomatic mistake. Nothing important by our standards. A Kryn ambassador made a rude joke about how humans looked. The human delegate, a female named Dr. Sarah Chen, just smiled and asked the Kryn to say sorry. The Kryn refused. He was too proud. Dr. Chen stood up, said something we could not hear, and left the room. Within 1 hour, every human in space started going home. Every single one. They left trade deals worth fortunes. They left research half-finished. They even left their ships floating empty in space. Krell frowned. They got angry over a joke? We thought so too, Vexthor continued. We sent groups to Earth to apologize, to bring them back. The answer was always the same. A human would meet us at their border alone in a small ship. They would say, please leave. For your safety and ours, never return. We are not what you think we are. Some species did not listen. The Kryn, embarrassed by what happened, sent a military fleet to force talks. 5,000 ships, the pride of their empire. The room became completely silent. Everyone leaned forward. 3 Kryn survived, Vexthor said. They were sent home in a small pod with a message. The warning you found on those beacons. The Kryn Empire fell apart within 1 generation. The survivors would not talk about what they saw. They could only scream. Krell's scales lost some of their shine. Counselor, you want us to believe that a species we cannot even detect destroyed an empire? Our sensors show Earth is barely protected. Your sensors show what humans want you to see, Vexthor answered. I beg you, Ambassador. I have lived 12,000 years. I have watched empires rise and fall. I have seen stars explode and black holes form. Nothing in my entire life scared me like the look in Dr. Chen's eyes when she left that room. It was not anger. It was fear. Fear of herself. Krell stood silent for a moment, then straightened his back. The Zephrani Empire does not fear legends, Counselor. We have the most powerful military in current space. 10,000 warships, weapons that can break planets, shields that can survive stars. If these humans were ever dangerous, 500 years of peace has made them soft. He turned to the council. We will go forward. In 3 months, the Zephrani Grand Fleet will travel to Earth. We will claim this world and its wealth, and we will prove that the time of fearing shadows is over. Vexithor's crystals turned completely black. Then I will pray to the old gods for you, Ambassador Krell, though I fear even they cannot help you now. The session ended. As different species left, the younger ones talked excitedly about the Zephrani's brave plan. The older species said nothing. They just went home and started making their own borders stronger, preparing for whatever might happen next. Deep in space, 500 light-years away, old warning beacons around Earth kept broadcasting. They had been broadcasting for 5 centuries, never stopping, never fading. Humanity's final warning: no one lives through what follows. The beacons were not threats. They were grave markers, written early for anyone foolish enough to ignore them. Admiral Zinn stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Glory. Holographic screens showed him all 10,000 ships in his fleet. They moved through space in perfect formation, a display of power never seen before in the galaxy. 3 months had passed since the council meeting. 3 months of getting ready, loading weapons, training crews. The Zephrani Empire had put all its pride into this fleet. They would show everyone that old fears meant nothing. Admiral, his sensor officer called. We are approaching the boundary markers. Zinn looked at the main screen. Ahead of them, barely visible, were dozens of ancient satellites. They were simple machines, crude by modern thinking. They just broadcast their warning on all frequencies. The human border, Zinn said. How primitive. They mark their territory like wild animals. As the fleet crossed the invisible line into human space, the satellites turned on. Lights blinked across their surfaces. The warning message started playing, not just in one language, but in thousands. Humanity's final warning: no one lives through what follows. The message repeated in Zephrani, in Thracian, in Brel, in Kryn, in languages of species long dead and some never recorded. 10,000 languages all saying the same thing. They certainly love drama, Krell said from his spot near the Admiral. The ambassador had insisted on joining the fleet, wanting to see the victory himself. Though I noticed no real defenses. No weapon platforms, no shield generators. Continue forward, Zinn ordered. The fleet moved ahead. The old satellites did nothing to stop them. They just kept broadcasting their message over and over. Sir, the sensor officer said, her voice uncertain. I am detecting a single ship ahead. Small unarmed according to our readings. It is moving to block us. One ship? Zinn laughed. They send one ship against 10,000? Show me. The view screen changed to show the approaching vessel. It was tiny compared to Zephrani warships, barely the size of a shuttle. Its design was simple, almost beautiful. No visible weapons, no armor plating, just a smooth hull with observation windows. The small ship stopped directly in front of the Eternal Glory. At this distance, they could see through one of the windows. A human sat in the pilot's chair looking directly at them. Open a communication channel, Zinn commanded. The view screen changed to show inside the human ship. The human was female, with dark hair tied back from her face. She wore a simple gray uniform with no rank marks. Her face was calm, almost sad. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the CSS Diplomatic Envoy, she said. Her voice was quiet, careful. I am here to offer you one final chance to turn back. Krell stepped forward. Captain Chen? The same Dr. Chen from the Thracian Counselor's story? Yes, Sarah replied. Though I am no longer a doctor. That was a different life. You have lived for 500 years? Krell asked, disbelief in his voice. Time moves differently for us now, Sarah said, not really answering. But that does not matter. What matters is you turn your fleet around and leave. Please, I am begging you. Admiral Zinn's mandibles clicked with amusement. You beg? You sit alone in a defenseless ship before the greatest fleet ever built and you beg us to leave? I beg because I remember what happens next, Sarah said. Her hands shook slightly on her controls. I remember what we become. What we have to do. Please, Admiral. Take your people home. Forget you ever found us. The Zafrani Empire does not run from empty threats, Zin declared. You have exactly 1 minute to move your ship, or we will destroy it and continue to your homeworld. Sarah closed her eyes. A tear ran down her cheek. You were warned. Everyone always warns you. We put up the beacons. We told the stories. We isolated ourselves. What more could we have done? She opened her eyes and looked directly at the camera. I am transmitting Article 7 protocol activation to Earth now. I am so sorry. Her hands moved across her controls. A message transmitted from her ship, a simple burst aimed back toward Earth. It was in no language the Zafrani computers could read, just strange symbols that seemed to hurt to look at. Article 7 protocol initiated, Sarah said. May your gods have mercy on you because we cannot. Her ship vanished. Not flew away, not jumped to faster speed, simply stopped existing between one moment and the next as if it had never been there. Scan for debris, Zin ordered, his confidence shaken slightly. No debris, sir, the sensor officer reported. No energy signature. No leftover radiation. It is like the ship was never there. A trick, Krell said, but his voice lacked certainty. Some kind of advanced hiding technology. Continue forward, Zin ordered. All ships keep formation. Weapons to stand by. If they want to play games, we will show them what real power looks like. The fleet moved deeper into human space. The sensor officer kept watching her screens, looking for any sign of defenses, of weapons, of anything. Sir, she said after an hour of travel, I am detecting planetary bodies ahead, marking them as we approach. The displays updated, showing several planets in nearby systems. They appeared on long-range sensors as normal worlds, various sizes, some with air, some without. Any signs of human presence? Zin asked. Negative, sir. The planets appear, dormant, waiting. Planets do not wait, Zin snapped. They are rocks in space. Give me facts, not poetry. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. The fleet continued forward. Hours passed. Earth was still 3 days away at their current speed, but they were deep in the territory marked as human space now. The old border beacons were far behind them. It was the navigation officer, Talik, who first noticed something wrong. He was a Vrel, a species known for their excellent sense of space. He stared at his screens, his 3 eyes blinking one after another as he tried to understand what he was seeing. Admiral, he said slowly, I need to show you something. Zin walked over to Talik's station. What is it? The planets, sir. I have been tracking them since we entered the system. They are not moving correctly. Explain. Planets orbit stars in predictable patterns, yes? Gravity, momentum, basic physics. These planets, they are adjusting their positions. Slightly but measurably. They are tracking us. Zin stared at the data. It was subtle, almost impossible to see. But Talik was right. The planets were moving in ways that natural objects should not. Zoom in on the nearest one, Zin ordered. The display showed a gray, lifeless-looking world. It appeared to be nothing more than a barren rock. But as they watched, something on its surface began to glow. Faint lines of light appeared, forming patterns across the entire hemisphere facing them. Those are not planets, Talik whispered. They are machines, constructs. We are not traveling through empty space, Admiral. We are inside something. We have been inside it since we crossed the border. Krell's golden scales had turned pale. How many of these constructs? The sensor officer's hands shook as she worked.
Scanning now.
Within detection range, I count 247 objects previously classified as planets, all showing similar energy patterns now. And sir, there is more. Much more. Show me, Zin demanded. The display expanded, showing the space around them in 3 dimensions. What they had thought was empty void was now revealed to be filled with objects, thousands of them, millions. Small satellites, each one powering up, their lights creating a web of connections through space. A Dyson swarm, Talik breathed. They have built a Dyson swarm, but not around a star for energy, around their entire territory. For defense. Admiral Zin stood frozen, staring at the display. His fleet of 10,000 ships suddenly seemed very small. They were not the hunters entering empty territory. They were insects that had crawled into a web, and somewhere ahead, in a small ship that could vanish from existence, Sarah Chen was crying for what came next. The first malfunction happened on a Zafrani destroyer called Dawn's Edge, positioned on the outer edge of the fleet. The ship's gravity generator simply stopped working. The crew found themselves floating, their emergency magnetic boots clicking on automatically. Engineering. "Report!" the destroyer's captain demanded. "Sir, the gravity generator is working perfectly." The chief engineer replied, confusion in his voice. "All readings are normal. It is working, but gravity just is not happening." Within minutes, 17 more ships reported similar impossible problems. Weapons that fired backwards, shields that appeared inside the ship instead of outside, navigation systems that showed them in places they could not possibly be. On the Eternal Glory, Admiral Zinn watched the reports flood in. Each one made less sense than the last. "It is a weapon," Krell said, his voice tight with fear he was trying to hide. "Some kind of technology that breaks our systems." "If it is a weapon, we can fight it," Zinn replied. He opened a channel to all ships. "All ships raise shields. Activate jamming fields. Prepare for combat." 10,000 ships responded as one. Their shields blazed to life, creating bubbles of protective energy. Jamming fields activated, blocking all outside signals. The fleet became a fortress of light and power in the darkness of space. For exactly 7 seconds, nothing happened. Then crew members started disappearing. A weapons officer on the cruiser Victorious reached for his console, and his hand passed through it as if it was not there. He looked down at his body in confusion, watching it fade like smoke. His last thought was a simple question: "Where am I going?" He reappeared on a completely different ship, the medical frigate Healing Dawn, 3,000 kilometers away. He materialized in the middle of a surgery, startling the doctors. Before anyone could react, he vanished again. This happened across the fleet, Zafrani crew members blinking in and out of existence, appearing in random locations. Sometimes on other ships, sometimes in space itself, where they had exactly 3 seconds before their suits' emergency systems kicked in and pulled them back to somewhere, anywhere. "Shut down all teleportation systems," Zinn ordered. "Sir, they are already offline," his chief engineer replied. "Whatever this is, it is not using our technology." Talik, the navigation officer, was staring at his screens with all 3 eyes wide. "Admiral, I have figured it out. It is not a weapon. It is not an attack. Then what is it? It is space itself. They are not breaking our technology. They are changing the rules. Physics does not work the same here anymore. Gravity, distance, position, they are suggestions now, not laws." A new alarm blared across the bridge. The sensor officer's voice cracked with panic. "Sir, the constructs. They are moving." On the main display, the objects they had identified as fake planets began to shift. But they were not moving through space in any normal way. They were unfolding. Each construct opened like a flower, revealing insides that should not fit within their outsides. Surfaces peeled back to show weapons, but weapons unlike anything in the Zafrani databases. One construct, the size of a small moon, fully opened. Inside was a single gun barrel, if it could be called that. It looked more like a tear in reality, a wound in space itself. "Evasive maneuvers," Zinn shouted. The fleet began to scatter, but the constructs did not fire. They simply watched, their weapon ports open, waiting. "Admiral," the communications officer said quietly, "I am receiving a transmission. It is on a frequency we do not have equipment for. Our computers are generating it themselves." "Show me." A video appeared on the screen. It showed a human male, young-looking, wearing the same gray uniform as Sarah Chen. He stood in what appeared to be a simple room with white walls. But the walls were breathing, in and out like lungs. "I'm Lieutenant Marcus Webb," the human said. "I am currently coming to your location with Combat Group 7. I have been ordered to tell you what will happen next." His voice was flat, emotionless. But his eyes told a different story. They were old eyes in a young face filled with a sadness that seemed to have no bottom. "Humanity evolved," Marcus continued, "but not naturally. We found something a long time ago, a piece of technology from a species that died 1 billion years before we existed. We did not understand it. We just used it." On the screen behind him, images appeared. Humans, but wrong somehow. They stood in impossible places, did impossible things. One walked through a wall as if it was not there. Another held a star in their hand like a ball. "We ascended," Marcus said. "That is what we called it. We ascended beyond physical limits, beyond the normal laws of the universe. We became something more than human. We became gods, in a way." He paused, and for a moment emotion flickered across his face. pain, regret. But we were not ready. We had the power of gods, but the emotions of children. When we felt anger, stars died. When we felt fear, space itself cracked. One of us, in a moment of grief, accidentally erased an entire galaxy. Just thought it away and it stopped existing. Trillions of beings gone in an instant because one human was sad. Krell fell into his chair, his legs unable to support him anymore. We tried to fix it, Marcus continued. We tried to bring that galaxy back. But you cannot unbreak reality. The rules once shattered do not go back together the same way. So we made a choice. We built limiters, neural dampeners, technology and biology working together to suppress what we had become. We locked ourselves away. We imprisoned our own power. The display behind him changed, showing Earth. Beautiful, peaceful Earth. But around it were rings upon rings of satellites, each one pulsing with energy. Every human is born with limiters now, Marcus said. We spend our entire lives learning to control power we can never fully use. We meditate for hours each day, keeping ourselves calm, keeping ourselves human. We have lived this way for 500 years, and it has worked. We have had peace. We have had control. His image leaned forward, looking directly at the camera. But you crossed the line. You ignored the warnings. And our laws are clear. Article 7. If anyone threatens humanity, if anyone comes seeking our power, if anyone refuses to leave us alone, we remove the limiters. Marcus stepped back. His body began to glow with a soft blue light. I am sorry, he said. I am so sorry. But the protocol is active now. We have to protect ourselves. We have to make sure no one else finds what we found. No one else becomes what we became. The light around him grew brighter. I am currently 3 light years from your position. With my limiters removed, I will reach you in 17 seconds. My combat group consists of 47 others like me. We will do what we must. And when it is done, we will put our limiters back on and spend years in meditation, trying to forget what we did. He looked down at his hands. They were starting to become see-through. The warning was true, Marcus whispered. No one lives through what follows. Not because we want to kill you, but because we cannot let anyone witness what we truly are. We cannot risk anyone else seeking this power. This curse. The transmission ended. Silence filled the Eternal Glories bridge. Then the sensor screamed. 48 objects had appeared from nowhere, surrounding the fleet. They were not ships. They were people. Humans floating in space without suits, without protection. Each one glowing with that same blue light. Marcus Webb floated directly ahead of the flagship. He raised one hand. All ships. Zin screamed. Fire everything, fire. 10,000 ships opened fire at once. Energy beams, missiles, plasma cannons, weapons that could crack planets. All of it focused on the humans floating helplessly in space. Marcus closed his hand into a fist. 2,000 Zafrani ships simply ceased to exist. They did not explode. They did not break apart. They were there and then they were not. 2,000 ships with all their crews, all their weapons, all their pride. Gone. Marcus opened his hand and looked at it, his expression one of disgust and horror. I am sorry, he whispered, though no one could hear him in the vacuum of space. Or perhaps everyone could. Perhaps his voice echoed in the minds of every surviving Zafrani. I am so sorry. The battle, if it could be called that, had begun. Admiral Zin's hands gripped his command chair so hard that his claws left marks in the metal. Around him, the bridge crew sat in stunned silence, watching their fleet die in ways that made no sense. All ships, retreat, Zin commanded. Full speed back to the border. 8,000 ships turned and fired their engines at maximum power. They had to escape. They had to get out of this cursed space and back to the safety of normal reality. The ships moved exactly nowhere. Engineering, Zin shouted. Why are we not moving? Sir, the engines are at full power, the chief engineer replied, his voice shaking. We are generating thrust. We should be accelerating. But space is not letting us go. Talik looked up from his navigation console, his 3 eyes wet with tears. They have closed the exit. We are in a box, a prison of altered space. We can move around inside it, but we cannot leave. Then we fight, Zin said. He opened a channel to all remaining ships. This is Admiral Zin. Concentrate all fire on the closest human. Focus everything on a single target. They are still physical beings. They can still die. 600 ships turned their weapons on a single human female who floated peacefully about a kilometer from the main fleet. She saw them targeting her. She simply waited. 600 ships fired. The human raised her hand, palm out. The energy beams, missiles, and plasma bolts all stopped in mid-space, hanging there like frozen rain. She moved her hand in a gentle pushing motion. All the weapons fire reversed direction and struck the ships that had fired them. 200 Zephrani vessels were destroyed by their own weapons. The human lowered her hand. She was crying. "Why are they crying?" Krell whispered. "They are killing us." "Why do they cry?" A voice answered him, appearing in his mind without sound. It was the human woman who had just destroyed 200 ships. "Because we remember being like you. We remember being mortal, being limited, being sane. Every time we remove the limiters, we remember what we have lost, what we can never be again." Krell looked around wildly. "Who said that?" "I am in your mind," the voice continued. "We all are. When we remove the limiters, we exist in all places, all times, all thoughts. We are everywhere and nowhere. We are everything we never wanted to be." More ships died. A human male simply looked at a cruiser, and it aged 1 billion years in a second, crumbling to dust. Another human sang a note, and the vibration shattered 50 ships like glass. They were not even trying hard. This was casual to them, effortless. "Open the cargo bay on Ship 47, Marcus Webb's voice echoed through the fleet, the one carrying the recording equipment. "I want to show you something." Zinn did not give the order, but it happened anyway. On a supply ship deep in the fleet formation, the cargo bay doors opened. Inside, protected by the best recording equipment the Zephrani could build, were servers meant to document their triumph. The cameras inside activated on their own. An image appeared on every screen in the fleet. It showed a room somewhere on Earth. The walls were covered in strange symbols that seemed to move and breathe. In the center stood an old human, a male with white hair and a face lined with centuries of sorrow. "I am Dr. James Morrison," the old human said. "I was the first to touch the artifact, the first to ascend, the first to understand what we had done to ourselves." He gestured to the symbols on the walls. "This is a containment field. Written in mathematics so complex it takes a normal human mind years to understand a single equation. I wrote it. I wrote it to keep myself trapped, to keep my power locked away." Dr. Morrison sat down on the floor, moving like every motion caused him pain. "Let me tell you our history. The truth that we tried to hide from the galaxy." The image changed, showing Earth 500 years ago. Humans were exploring space, excited and innocent. They found a derelict ship, ancient beyond measure. "We found something wonderful," Morrison continued. "Or so we thought. A device that could expand consciousness. We believed it was a gift from an advanced species. We believed it would make us better." The image showed humans touching the device, their bodies glowing, their eyes filled with light and madness. It did make us more powerful, more aware, more everything. But power without wisdom is a curse, and we had no wisdom. We were children given the keys to creation itself. The scene shifted to show destruction, planets destroyed by accident, stars manipulated and dying, space itself cracking like broken glass. "We waged war on each other," Morrison said, his voice heavy with shame. "Disagreements became apocalypses. A lover's quarrel destroyed a solar system. A political debate shattered the fabric of reality across 3 sectors. We were gods fighting with the power of creation, and the universe itself was our battlefield." Krell watched in horror as the images showed humans, glowing with terrible power, fighting each other. Each movement they made rewrote the laws of physics. Each thought manifested as reality. "We nearly destroyed everything," Morrison continued. "All life, all matter, all of existence. We came so close to unmaking the universe itself, and we could not stop. The power was too intoxicating. It was part of us now. We were addicted to being gods." The image showed a moment of clarity. Humans gathering, their faces filled with horror at what they had become. Some of us, in brief moments of sanity, realized the truth. We could not unmake what we had become, but we could limit it, lock it away. So we built the limiters, devices and genetic modifications that would suppress our abilities, keep us human. Morrison looked directly at the camera. "But the power is still there always. Every human carries it. Every human lives knowing that with a single thought they could unmake reality. So we train, we meditate. We spend our entire lives learning to not use the power." He stood up, his movements labored. "When your fleet crossed our border, you forced our hand. Article 7 is not a military protocol. It is a survival protocol. Ours and yours. We cannot let anyone see what we truly are, Morrison said. Because if they do, they will seek the power. They will try to become like us. And the universe cannot survive another ascended species. We barely survived ourselves. The image shifted one final time, showing the Zafrani fleet from an outside view. The humans surrounded it, glowing points of light in the darkness. So we must do what we swore we would never do again. Morrison whispered. We must remove the limiters. We must become gods one more time. And we must ensure that no one survives to tell the tale. Why show us this? Zin demanded at the screen. Why tell us anything? Just kill us and be done with it. Morrison's image looked sad. Because you deserve to understand. You deserve to know that this is not cruelty. It is mercy. Quick death now, or the risk of your species finding what we found, becoming what we became, suffering as we suffer. He raised his hand. Even through the recording, they could feel power gathering. We are humanity. We are the species that rose too high too fast. We are the warning the universe writes to itself. And we are so sorry. The transmission ended. In the space around the fleet, the humans acted. But they did not attack. They began to show Marcus Webb created a star in his hand. Not an illusion. An actual star burning with fusion fire. He held it gently, then released it. It hung in space, a tiny sun, before he thought it away. Another human reached out and touched space itself. Where her fingers contacted the void, reality rippled. Colors that did not exist in nature bloomed and died. A third human sang, and matter danced to his tune. Atoms rearranged themselves, forming complex patterns, then dissolving back to base elements. They were showing off. Not to boast, but to demonstrate. To make absolutely clear what humanity had become, please, Krell whispered. Please, just let us go. We will never speak of this. We will forget we ever found you. Sarah Chen appeared on the bridge of the eternal glory. Not on a screen. Physically present, standing in the center of the command deck. She looked at Krell with eyes that had seen too much. You cannot forget, she said softly. Memory modification does not work on knowledge this deep. It changes you on a fundamental level. We have tried. The Kryn survivors we sent home could not forget. They went insane trying. She walked toward Krell and the crew scrambled back from her. I am sorry. I am so sorry. But we cannot risk it. Cannot risk your scientists trying to find what we found. Cannot risk your leaders seeking this power. Cannot risk the universe dying because we were too weak to do what is necessary. Zin stepped between them and Sarah. Then do it. Stop talking and do it. If we must die, then be gods and kill us. Sarah looked up at him. Tears ran down her face. We are not gods, Admiral. We are prisoners. Prisoners of power we never wanted. And you are casualties of our curse. She turned to leave, then paused. One ship will survive. One ship to carry the message. To update the warnings. To make sure this never happens again. She vanished. On every screen, a countdown appeared. 10 minutes. The humans drew back, giving the fleet space. They floated in formation, waiting. Preparing for what came next. The countdown reached 0. Nothing happened. For 10 seconds, 20, 30, the Zafrani fleet hung in space, waiting for death. The humans floated peacefully around them, not moving, not attacking, just watching with those sad, ancient eyes. Then Sarah Chen appeared again, this time on every ship at once. She stood at the center of each bridge, each engineering deck, each crew quarters, present everywhere simultaneously. Before the end, she said, you will understand completely, we will show you everything. It is the only kindness we can offer. She raised her hand. The universe opened. Every Zafrani in the fleet suddenly saw, not with their eyes, but with their minds. They saw the history of humanity, not as a story, but as lived experience. 500 years of memory flooded into them. They felt the moment of discovery, felt the excitement as Dr. James Morrison touched the ancient artifact, felt the rush of power as human consciousness expanded beyond its limits. They experienced the joy of becoming more than mortal. Then came the horror. They felt Sarah Chen's memory of the diplomatic incident, the Kryn ambassador's insult, the flash of anger, and then the terrible realization as that anger became real. The Kryn's homeworld shattered by accident, by a thought, by a moment of emotion that she could not control. They felt the fear, the absolute terror of having infinite power and no control, of knowing that every emotion could destroy worlds. Every thought could unmake reality. They experienced the war, human fighting human, gods battling gods. They felt planets die in the crossfire, felt civilizations erased by casual gestures, felt space itself screaming as it was torn and rewritten and torn again. They lived through the moment of clarity, the horror of understanding what humanity had become, the desperate search for a solution, the agonizing choice to limit themselves, to lock away the power, to become prisoners of their own abilities, and they felt the 500 years of meditation. Every single day spent forcing themselves to be less than they could be. The constant struggle to remain human when godhood was always right there, just beneath the surface. The weight of carrying power they could never use. Krell fell to his knees on the Eternal Glories bridge, tears streaming from his eyes. He understood now. He felt it all. The curse of being humanity. We did not choose this, Sarah's voice echoed in his mind, in all their minds. We stumbled into it. And once we had it, we could not go back. Cannot go back. The power is part of us now, written into our genetics, our consciousness, our very souls. The visions continued. They saw Earth, beautiful Earth, surrounded by technology designed for one purpose, to help humanity stay human. They saw human children, born with the potential to unmake stars, being taught meditation before they learned to walk, taught control before they learned language. They saw the daily struggle, every human, every moment fighting against what they were, suppressing the power, staying small in a universe where they could be infinite. This is what you would have found, Sarah said, if we had let you live. If we had let you go, your scientists would have studied us, searched for the source of our power, and eventually, someone would have found it. The artifact, the key to ascension. The vision shifted. They saw what would happen. Saw Zafrani touching the artifact, saw them ascend, saw their scales glow with impossible power, saw them lose control just as humanity had, saw the Zafrani Empire destroy itself in a blaze of godlike rage, saw the galaxy burn. We cannot let that happen, Sarah whispered. Cannot risk another species becoming what we are. The universe cannot survive it. Reality itself is already damaged from our war. Another ascended species would shatter it completely. The visions faded. The Zephrani found themselves back in normal perception, back in their bodies, but they were changed. They had felt what it meant to be human. The terrible burden, the endless curse. Now you understand, Sarah said. Now you know why we isolated ourselves, why we begged to be left alone, why the warning exists. She looked at Krell. You will be the one to survive, you and your ship. Not because we want you to suffer with this knowledge, but because the galaxy must know, must understand, must learn to leave us alone. The rest. She could not finish the sentence. Tears fell freely now. Marcus Webb appeared beside her. Then another human, and another. All 48 of them gathered on the Eternal Glories bridge, standing among the Zephrani crew. We will make it quick, Marcus said. Painless. They will not suffer. It is the only gift we can give them. Admiral Zinn stood tall, his fear replaced with understanding. We did not know. We could not have known. No one ever does, Sarah replied. That is why the warning exists. But words are never enough. They never believe until it is too late. She turned to Krell. Your ship will be moved outside the effect zone. You and your crew will have your memories changed slightly. You will remember everything except the technical details. You will not be able to explain how we do what we do, only that we can. Why spare us at all? Krell asked. Because the alternative is that the galaxy forgets. And if they forget, they will come again. Someone else will find us. And we will have to do this again, and again, forever. Sarah's voice broke. We are so tired of killing, so tired of being monsters, but we have to protect you all from yourselves. She looked at the other humans. They nodded. It was time. We are sorry, they said together. Their voices harmonized, creating a sound that was almost music, almost prayer. They reached out. 7,999 Zephrani ships ceased to exist. Not destroyed, simply removed from reality. Every crew member, every weapon, every piece of technology, there and then, not there. Erased as gently as possible. On the Eternal Glory, Krell and his crew felt their ship move. Space folded around them, carrying them away from human territory, back toward the border. They moved faster than light, faster than thought, until they were beyond the warning beacons. Then they stopped. Sarah stood alone on their bridge now. The other humans had returned to Earth to put their limiters back on, to spend years in meditation trying to forget what they had done. "Go home," Sarah said to Krell. "Tell the council what happened. Update the warnings. Make them understand." She began to fade. "And please, please tell them to leave us alone. We do not want to be gods. We do not want this power. We just want to be human again. But we cannot. Not ever. We are trapped by what we became, prisoners of our own evolution, and the only way we can protect the universe is to stay locked away. Alone. Forever." She was almost gone now, transparent as glass. "Tell them the warning is not a threat. It is a plea. A desperate, begging plea. From a species that became too powerful too fast and now lives in constant fear of itself." Her last words echoed in the empty space where she had stood. "Tell them we are sorry. Tell them we never wanted this. Tell them to run. Run and never look back." She vanished. The eternal glory hung alone in space. Behind them, human territory sat dark and quiet. The warning beacons resumed their broadcast, the message unchanged. Humanity's final warning: no one lives through what follows. 3 months later, Ambassador Krell stood before the Galactic Council. His scales had turned permanently pale. He had aged decades in those 3 months. "Honored council members," he said, his voice quiet, "I come before you to report on the Zephrani expedition to Earth." The chamber was silent. Everyone knew that only one ship had returned. The fate of the fleet was obvious. "Humanity is not what we thought," Krell continued. "They are not hiding because they are weak. They are hiding because they are too strong. Dangerously strong. Impossibly strong." He projected images, the humans floating in space, the casual destruction, the tears on their faces as they killed. "They have power beyond our understanding, beyond our comprehension. But they do not want it. They fear it. They have imprisoned themselves to protect us from it." Counselor Vexthor's crystals pulsed a deep blue, a color of profound sadness among his people. "The warning is real," Krell said. "It is not a threat. It is mercy. It is humanity begging us to leave them alone, begging us not to seek what they found. Because if we do, we will become like them, cursed with power we cannot control." He stood straighter. "I move that we declare human space permanently forbidden. No exploration, no contact, no exceptions. We must update the warning beacons, make them clearer, make sure no one else makes our mistake." The vote was unanimous. As the council filed out, Krell remained. Vexthor approached him. "I tried to warn you," the ancient being said. "I know," Krell replied. "I understand now. They showed me everything. I felt what it is like to be human, to carry that burden." "And now you must carry a burden too," Vexthor said. "The knowledge, the memory, it will haunt you." "Good," Krell said. "Let it haunt me. Let it remind me, let it remind all of us." He looked at the star charts, at the small section marked in red. Human space. Forbidden forever. "They are not our enemies," Krell whispered. "They are victims, victims of their own success, and all they want is to be left alone." Far away, on Earth, Sarah Chen stood in her meditation chamber. The limiters were back in place. The power was locked away again, but she could still feel it, always there, always waiting. A message came through on her console. It was from the Galactic Council. The new warning had been approved. She read it. "Humanity's final warning. No one lives through what follows. This is not a threat. This is a plea. Humanity has ascended beyond mortal limits and found only curse, not blessing. They have imprisoned themselves to protect the galaxy. Do not seek them. Do not disturb them. Do not try to learn their secrets. Leave them alone, for your sake and theirs. This is mercy." Sarah closed her eyes. Tears fell. "Maybe now," she whispered to the empty room. Maybe now they will understand. Maybe now we can have peace. But deep down, she knew. Eventually, someone else would come. Someone else would ignore the warnings, would seek the power, would force humanity to remove the limiters again, and the cycle would repeat. Because that was humanity's true curse. Not the power itself, but the eternal duty to protect the universe from it. To be the guardians and the prisoners. The warning and the weapon. Forever alone. Forever watching. Forever human. And forever something far more terrible than human.